How's it going, everybody? My name is Alex Gortney, and welcome to episode 3 of the Developer Soup podcast. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to build your confidence as a new developer and also when to step away from a project for the day. So once again, I'm here with my partner, Nick Queen. So let's go ahead and get this on the road.
How's it going, Alex?
That's going all right. So let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of building our confidence and specifically more of why we want to talk about this from our little mishap that we had yesterday with one of the projects you were trying to work on.
I don't even know if I want to talk about yesterday. Yesterday's frustrating. I mean, just to kind of build up. So, and it's odd because, I mean, if you remember, earlier in the week, I think last week we discussed, I've been on vacation this week. My goal was I was going to complete the full stack JavaScript track track at Treehouse. And so that was my goal. My goal was I was going to do that, and I did it. Went through and finished it. It was great. I thought I learned a lot, and so I decided, you know what, my first goal, from there is I'm going to build an app. I decided, I wanted to do something kind of practical, kind of easy. A little bit challenging, but something I should be able to handle. For those that don't really know me, I'm a huge board game geek. I'm actually sitting in my office here, and I've got like 40 board games in the room. I actually went to the Board Game Geek website. So that starts this story about 2 days ago, I think. When I found the API for the Board Game Geek website. And if you've been to the website before, or if you're familiar with it, you know that there's a bar on the left-hand side called the Hotness, which basically are the games that people are talking about the most, that have got the highest ratings. There's 50 games listed there, and I thought, you know what? Instead of being able to go there and just look at this list of games that are kind of, it's laid out and it's a little tiny bar, I want to be able to go, pull the name of the game, the thumbnail, and the link to it, put it onto one page, listing all 50 of them, pictures there, looks great. Seems like a simple project. I mean, especially, and you just completed this part in the full stack JavaScript where you use Ajax to send out that request.
Mm-hmm.
First challenge when we got there, and I think it was late one night, I sent you, I was talking to you about it. They do not have the API in JSON. It's in XML.
It's XML, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think I sent it to you. I fell asleep. You stayed up most of the night because you wanted to try to figure out how to get it to convert to JSON. Not a very easy thing to do. And the next day I discovered, after I think you sent me a message on Twitter saying, screw this, I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. Because, I think we were under the impression of going through or at least I don't think you were. I think I had already looked up trying to figure out how to do the JSON, that we could put on like a parameter that would take it and convert it automatically to JSON. You actually have to do like a wrapper or something, and there's like a big step to do that.
Yeah, it just wasn't. It really wasn't worth the.
Yeah.
The thing. I mean, because honestly, most APIs these days are in JSON alone. So I mean.
Yeah. So I picked a project that, Board Game Geek, they put it down in XML. I think there's a thread on their forum from like months ago where somebody was like, "Hey, let's put it in JSON." They actually added it to like the future, their future projects, have a JSON thing. So somebody actually did it. They created a website that hosts a JSON thread. JSON API. So I'm like, great, we'll just use that. So, I go through, I actually write up the code, and one of the most frustrating things ever. I get this thing to work, except for, I put it on the page. All I wanted it to do was put it out in like simple HTML. I wasn't even doing CSS or anything, because at that point, I just wanted to see it work. You go into the console, Google console, It says it sent out the XHR request, and nothing shows up on the page.
And this is kind of where leading into our confidence going, what in the hell, happened here?
Because if it had an error, I think I could go fix an error. If I've got something that's popping up on, which we had once we started screwing around with it a little bit more, all types of errors, and I could go look those up. I'm like, oh, well, here's how you squish that bug. But then, how do you get it to work when it's nothing? It's just not doing it.
Well, it was weird. Like we had someone help us, but even then, it was just weird how to even get it to work. And we just kind of, after that, we were just kind of like, are we like really good at what we're doing or what? Because when we learned how to do it through Treehouse, we use the Flickr API, which is the more obviously well-built API, and it was easy to understand, to where the other website was just not put together very well. So it just essentially left Nick, I think, worse off than me afterward, because it made him start questioning everything he just sat through and learned. And me, on the other hand, I just had to end up going and prove myself that I still knew what I was doing, because I went to the Open Weather API and got that working like in a matter of 5 minutes after I went through this gigantic debate with myself of being angry, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But, it's one of those things to where I think when you're a new developer, you're going to run into those problems. And while we did learn a lot from it, I think the biggest thing, you just can't let that get you down, and you just got to keep moving forward, and just eventually, I think your confidence is just going to get built up the more projects you put under your belt.
Well, sure. I mean, and the thing was, the weirdest part of this whole thing is I did learn a lot. First off, I learned what document.ready means when you put the code inside of it. Basically, that it's just not going to run until the document's ready. So it's just like, and it's so simple once you learn it. It's kind of like, oh, well, of course it's not going to work at that point. Then you take it out. I mean, which is kind of what pretty much all the person did was they took that part out of the code. I wrote all the code. The code was right.
Well, you also did learn from me how you can completely remove that entire line of code from just putting it at the bottom of the body of the script.
You're talking about the document.ready, or you're talking about
no? If you take the script in JavaScript, if you take that script that loads the file, jQuery and stuff, and you take both those scripts and you stick them toward the end of the body, you can completely remove the fact of document.getReady.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's that, plus also the other thing that I think me and you both learned from this was the get JSON versus .ajax, which was
I found $get get Ajax actually adds a little bit more features. Like I found out yesterday, that thing where you can call the method success or the object success.
Yeah, that was
really cool. Callback inside the $Ajax, so that way you don't have to go and add that extra callback to the function. So
I did want to ask you about your mortal enemy at this point. Is it the for each versus .each or something like that?
Yeah.
You seem like you hated that more than anything in the world.
Well, I still don't really get it. Like, honestly, with the API he did, I don't understand where it's all coming from.
Yeah.
Like because again, it wasn't an array. So, and it's one of those things, guys, to where like it goes into the other thing of knowing when to just like walk away and just leave it as is, because like I spent 2 days wasted just sitting there trying to figure that one thing out, and I still don't have my head wrapped around it. And it's just like it's one of those things to where I just stick to what I know at the moment, because otherwise you're going to find out, obviously through other people, that there's 16 different ways to code something. Yeah. And while it's good to understand those 16 different ways, if you don't understand it by like day 2, you're just going to keep wasting more time, and you're just slowly going to diminish your confidence in yourself. And you're going to start questioning whether or not you know how to code.
Well, and I think the thing I mentioned to you was, the one works, just use it. That's the same thing that I was having with you with the Get JSON. I wanted to get JSON to work so bad. And I think somebody at the Slack channel for Code Movies just used .ajax. I'm like, but I want to know why. Why?
Yeah,
How does the escape JSON work? I mean,
yeah, and that's me. That's why I didn't use .4e or the data.4h. I looked a little bit more into it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it makes sense. There's just certain arguments in there that just doesn't make any sense to me. And it does the same thing the .each does, but reading it on its stack, there's like a certain thing .each doesn't allow. And there's just a bunch of back-end complicated. There's just a bunch of stuff behind the scenes that one allows you to do and the other one doesn't. Honestly, though, I still don't understand today how that API even works that you were trying to use. And I honestly think I won't ever will. Until
you're talking about just the API itself, as the one.
Yeah, and it's something I just like left out of my mind because like I know I can get 10 other APIs to work.
And I think I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna use not Twitter, because we looked at Twitter's just kind of crazy. Twitter documentation was kind of weird.
Well, like I know how to get theirs to work because I did it on Android, and Android's a bigger headache than anything.
Yeah.
But my point is like after it's kind of one of those things where like I just have to leave it out of my head that it's gonna be the way it is. I wasn't able to figure it out. Maybe one day I'll come back to it just to try to tackle it as a challenge. But in the meantime, it's just one of those things where I just walk away and work on stuff I know I can complete. Because otherwise, like I said, you're just going to get to the point where you're just like, I don't know how to code,
Well, and I think that was, I left, just kind of going away from the API. Because honestly, I've got it working. It's first off, the one guy helped me. I've been working on it, trying to get the, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. CSS is from the devil. I really think that he came up from his fiery realm, designed CSS and then left to mock humanity. But and it's just that's coming from somebody that does not want to be a designer. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Mainly because I've been trying to set up a grid system. And
why don't you just use Bootstrap?
I actually ran into that earlier before I had to leave to go run some errands, and I looked at it, I'm like, oh well, I didn't run into Bootstrap before. I should do that. I don't know why. I'm just thinking CSS. Yeah. And once again, I think that's the issue is from everything that we've been talking about is we have all these tools. It's like we walk into this huge garage full of every tool that we have.
Yeah, I mean, you got tools to do it. That's that's why I use Bootstrap.
Yeah,
that's why I use Bootstrap, just because doing stuff from hand, it's a total pain unless you really, really, really understand what you're doing. And honestly, my goal is not to become a HTML, CSS, code or designer per se. I mean, I would work on front end, but again, my thing is mainly JavaScript. Working on back end JavaScript or front end JavaScript. So, that's where my realm lies rather than, putting together HTML and static CSS pages. So
yeah, that's where I would say, somebody that I've got it running, I've got it pulling the 50 games, I've got it, everything else. To me, that's, as my job as a developer. But at the same time, we have to be able to do at least a crude estimation.
Well, you want to know how to. Well, I mean, you want to know how to do some of it. I mean, I know how to do enough of it to put a decent page together.
Well, and I've got it running. That's the thing. Is like, at what point do I make it? I've got it running. I've got it where it's got 3 in a grid, and then every now and then one of them will slip out of the grid and be by itself in a row, and that drives me crazy.
It's just and that's where just putting it in Bootstrap comes in too, because that's the other thing is. If you're gonna work on a project, you honestly need to get it done as quick as possible, because otherwise you're just gonna be spending more time on one thing than to where you can be spending more time on the JavaScript portion of it. So it's that's just my opinion personally. Unless you're just trying to learn it.
Yeah, and I mean I want to know just like you said. I want to know just enough CSS probably to be dangerous and break something. And I think that's also at this point, I don't know that much Bootstrap. I know enough to get by, But I might maybe later on work with you if maybe able to get Russian how to do it. Which leads to our next thing we wanted to discuss was being able to get people together to help keep each other motivated and help each other out when this happens because number one, the Code Movie Slack channel is amazing. I think I wore out some patience yesterday with my questioning of what the heck I was doing.
Well, that's the other thing is like being able to that ties into the building your confidence, and I think asking questions like that really helps. And I think like another thing too, guys, is like as a new developer, don't be afraid to do that because if you don't ever ask, you're never gonna build your confidence up to ask somebody. That's all part of being able to do that. And whether it be in Slack or even Stack Overflow, I had a fear of Stack Overflow for a long time. And I think a lot of it came to the point because one time a long time ago, I just asked a general question and it just got downvoted so many times where my account got banned. And it was ridiculous. And it just kind of deterred me. And I was like, forget it. So I came back and I learned how to really just write, better questions on there because again, it was like a long time ago, probably back in high school, honestly. So I learned to write better questions. And I mean, I've been getting answers on there pretty well now, and I've been getting response, and it's been helping me, really understand a lot more. Now, the only thing is like, and the other thing too is I actually found out if you go to Code Newbie and you're with other people within your skill level, or even people that are more advanced, the thing I found is I can actually get a more simplified answer from a beginner than I do someone that's been there for 16 something odd years in the industry.
Yeah.
And it's actually interesting because like on Treehouse, I would ask a question and I'd get it like remotely quickly. And then I get one answer. On Stack Overflow, I may get like 10, 20 different answers at a time. And it's weird, but I found Stack Overflow, you get more of a broad range of stuff. So
yeah. Well, and sometimes it's also, I think sometimes it's the frustration is actually as much as it makes me miserable. And now that I've had that frustration, I have that answer. It's something like you said. Now I can go over it. You did that API for Open Weather 5-10 minutes. That's because we pretty much banged on that problem for what? Forever. You know what I mean? So, at that point, if you didn't know it, it's time to maybe
well,
that way go away for a little bit.
Honestly, if I didn't spend the 2 days I did working on an endless problem that I still wasn't able to solve and got every other answer but the problem that I needed to solve, I wouldn't have been able to memorize what I need to do. I honestly have that one thing of how to do that down to a T.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is very it's very frustrating, but it helps you grow. And I think that was the other thing we were talking about earlier, or at least that I brought up was maybe even getting a study group together of people that are like-minded. That they don't necessarily have to be at the same level. They could be below, above, but all within kind of a range to help keep each other motivated to to work on. Like my problem is I'm struggling to find like projects. We talked about this yesterday. I went to a free code camp afterwards thinking, okay, maybe I need to learn, I need to study some more. I started trying to do the bonfires and, I got to that factorial, find the factorial of 5 or something. And I'm going to be honest with you, I struggled with it. I know how to do the factorial. I know exactly what that means.
Well, the only other thing too is, I mean, there's a point where you need to stop studying and just do the stupid projects because otherwise you're going to be in this infinity of only being able to follow a tutorial. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, like, when it comes to coming with projects, I mean, I've got a slew of ones I would like to work on, and it's just a matter of going online. What I do is I go on Reddit and I look up just different ideas. I mean, but it's just a matter of completing them, and that's the other thing. But as far as going around to different places and just constantly trying to learn more and more and more, it's not bad. But if you're never creating any projects in between that, you're never going to get anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to become dependent on tutorials.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at. I need to get away from that. I think that's probably why I'm not even able to think of like different projects, like because at this point, like my mind is wrapped around tiny, like these little ones. Like I don't know, like I don't think I'm gonna ever have a job where it's gonna be like, okay, we need to find the factorial of 10. Like, okay, if I'm gonna find the factorial of 10, I'm just gonna pull on my calculator.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing about certain tutorials is that I don't understand it, and it's nothing against like Free Code Camp or that practice algorithms. But in all honesty, when you're getting for instance, a junior level job, from at least the experience from what I've heard of a friend and his coworkers when they first got interviewed, they didn't go, "Can you factorize the factorial of 10 in an algorithm?"
Mm-hmm.
Or they didn't ask a bunch of non-trivial questions. They had him sit down and do a basic JavaScript test and asked him what this meant, this meant, this meant. And can you practically code? In other words, can you build a basic application? Not a bunch of non-trivial. And that's one thing. That's why like Treehouse is why it doesn't go over algorithms. It teaches you practical development.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, let's talk about exactly what are the things that the projects we did on, we did a to-do list. That's something that actually is a practical thing. Like a lot of people need. We did the Flickr page. There's a lot of times people want to pull up pictures and have them on their website. We did, we did some quizzes. That's stuff you see on websites all the time. Sadly, on a lot of websites, those things are things that actually are practical that are there.
Yeah, and those are some of the projects I actually want to build upon. I mean, like you can even turn some of those projects into learning how to build your own CMS system, and incorporate it. It's like, and that's one of those projects I would like to do is just be able to do that. Even though it's not going to be used, it's still that thing that I was able to build it, and I think that honestly is more relevant than going through a slew of algorithms at first as a new developer. I think that's something that you should do once you build projects. Then definitely go over, because you still want to be able to do it. You want to be able to know that you ever want to move up in life, but it's still being able to build up that confidence of knowing you can build practical projects. Because if you just go look at a bunch of algorithms and you can't figure them out, what's the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to sit there and go, "Oh, well, I don't know how to code, so I'm not ready to get a job."
Well, the analogy I was going into was, we right now, if you think about it, we have access to a full garage full of every tool imaginable, and yesterday we kept wanting to settle on using a rock instead of a hammer. Now we're talking about, okay, we're going to go out and learn algorithms. We're talking about going to the back, finding these like elaborate tools that need that will do all these things when we really don't know how to swing the hammer as well as we should. We have to be able to. We don't want to get to the point where we're advancing through where we're using these more elaborate tools and getting stuck on learning how to.
Well, it's essentially walk before you can run type.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying we need to be able to build projects before we go learn how to do different stuff. So, I mean, that's essentially our whole idea behind keeping your confidence up, is just don't go over your head. So let's go ahead and quickly move into real quick, because we're going to run out of time here. Just knowing when to walk away from a project for the day. So yesterday I was talking about running into that problem with the API and the weather API that I just spent another couple hours trying to figure out. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. I was up for 2 days straight almost. So I went and took a nap, and it was weird because I got back up and I looked at the project again, and I was like, holy crap, that was easy. It was staring me in the face the entire time, but beforehand I didn't notice it. So essentially, it goes back to what I was talking about on my blog. If you guys ever read it, over at alexcourtney.com, as I talked about, don't be an all-night programmer. Why it's great to stay up and get more work done, you're actually going to be less productive because you're not going to be able to focus as much and you're not going to be able to think straight. So when you start running into problems, all you're going to do is just start getting more and more aggravated. So it's like when you start hitting that point, just walk away and go play a game or do something. It's just not worth it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I get, because it's at some point you start, you're burning yourself out. It's not
pretty much.
And my current work, just to kind of give a perspective on it, we discussed like a big part of the curriculum is something called self-care. Self-care is something that is beat into us because being a social worker, you want to go out, you want to keep helping people over and over and over. You get very wrapped up in people's lives, just like we can get wrapped up in the problems that we're dealing with. Like you did. You've got to the point where it's like you demanded, the answer to this. But if you cannot help yourself, if you cannot walk away, get yourself back into where you need to be, take care of your own self, you'll never be able to figure that problem.
Yeah, and that's
at some point you're just going to quit. You're going to be done with it. You're going to hate it, and you're done.
Exactly. That's the same situation.
So self-care can be anything. It needs to be something that's away from there. Like you said, take a nap or a game, turn off your mind for a little bit. And I'm horrible at it. I'm not very good at self-care. I will sit and beat up a problem forever. It's hard.
And the other thing too is, especially if you're coding, the best thing to do is just don't even go look up. Like I learned not to go listen to another podcast about coding or go read other articles about coding, because all you're going to want to do is go back to your project. So essentially, just completely step away from it. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you guys. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start wrapping some stuff up and talk about our goals for the week.
Okay, well, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead and go first.
Okay, so my goal, I do want to get some more projects underway. I think I'm going to take I'm going to probably try to bootstrap just to do the grid, but I'm also at the same time, I'm not going to go and beat myself to death over it. My problem is I've got this problem fixed. The CSS, I'm going to get it as pretty as possible, and then I need to move on to the next project. That's good advice. I do want to also go in and do not really some studying, but more review. So one of the things that I think is nice is that now that I hit this problem, I see in there what I had trouble with, and I see what I did pretty easily. So, like the Ajax calls, I think maybe I need to go brush up on that a little bit more so I can understand the lingo, understand the terminology better. So that gives me that opportunity to focus on what I need to brush up on. So I'm going to probably pick another project and at the same time review and just keep doing that, posting about it on my blog, explaining what I'm learning, kind of just regurgitating it back, and hopefully that'll smooth out the the wrinkles I'm having. So
sounds good. So yeah, I'm going to be working on probably the Open Weather API here this week. I'm also going to be finishing up the final few tracks on Treehouse and the full stack stuff, since I have 7 hours left, maybe 8 now, because they added the one new track to the course, which is the NPM, which for you guys that don't know, helps with console stuff with Node.js. And that's about as far as I know on that right now. So I got a little bit to go on that, but that's my goal, is to finish that up and hopefully start on my first project.
Cool.
So yeah, but anyway, guys, we're gonna go ahead and end the show. So again, my name is Alex Gortney.
My name is Nick Quinn.
And we will be seeing you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.